Hello, good afternoon everyone. Happy Monday. It's about 1 p.m. in the afternoon and I'm just now headed to my classroom. I'm going to spend about 2 hours there today and see what I can get accomplished. Actually hoping I don't see that many people there because I'm so chatty, I'll talk. But just kind of want to putz around and start accomplishing a couple things so that I feel like I'm meeting some of my goals. I left my beginning of the year checklist there, so I want to go over that and start thinking about what else I need to do. Last week, I just worked on arranging the layout and putting things back and taking things out of cupboards and cabinets. So, see you soon. Okay, it's hard to make this video because this pocket chart is bordered by two different windows, and even though I closed the blinds, it's really bright. So sorry about that, but this is my pocket chart for one of my classes, and what I'm doing is I'm separating by making a column down the middle, and I'm just taking index cards and I'm cutting them lengthwise to be 1.5 inches each, and then I'm going to go ahead and stick it in the pocket. And then it just happens that where it ends here, I can just put a roll of piece of Scotch tape to just make it stay down. So I didn't want to use duct tape or anything like that, and this is the first thing I thought of. But I did go ahead and measure across to see that my pocket chart was 31 inches. So I did find the halfway point. I'm normally an eyeball it type of person, which is funny being a math teacher. So that's why my husband doesn't let me hang pictures at home. Okay, so it literally took me only 5 minutes from cutting the index cards to taping and putting that up and measuring. So that one's done, one more to go. Okay, I know this is a little strange to be excited about, but I just put in the rest of the index card pieces and I had the exact right number. So that really makes me excited as a math teacher. I don't know why. Okay, now I'm in our workroom and I'm doing the second goal and reason why I came today. And I want to provide visual model templates in the classroom on paper. So I have an area that has little cubbies. I'm going to store these. So I'm in here printing right now. So like double number lines, ratio tables, T-charts and things like that. That is another one of the things we talked about at the Hive 2019 Open Up Resources 6-8 Math Conference, was maybe having those different graphic organizers for students to pull anytime. Now, being that we're one-to-one with iPads and students can really just open Notability and do a blank note, I always have that option. We often do have kids just create a visual organizer, but I think it's also nice to have the paper option to address different learning needs, and then just some students need a break or just would rather have paper. So that's what I'm doing right now. I'll show you those in a bit. Making copies. So these are the things that I made copies of today. I made a learning questionnaire that we have students check things off, and then the next day we go ahead and we talk about fixed mindset and growth mindset. There's two sides to this. As it gets a little bit farther in the year, students will come in for lunch to do extra practice or make up assessments and things. Here's my classroom leadership application. And then I also already copied our name tents that we're going to use for the first 5 days of school. But it has a very important dual purpose. But if you open this up, this is a feedback form for the first week. And basically what it is, it's an opportunity for students to ask questions, give feedback, make comments, or just tell us a little bit about them. And as you can see, we're starting on Thursday, August 22nd. That is the second day for students, and then it goes Friday, and then Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. So it's opportunity for you to communicate back and forth with your students for the first 5 days of school. There's definitely benefits of doing this, building relationships with your students and finding out things about them that they might not say out loud. And it was taken from a website called sarahvanderwerf.com, and she wrote about it in her blog. I'm working on the name tents I'm going to use for the first 5 days of school, but actually we're going to start this activity more on the second day of school. We have an adjusted schedule this year, and the first 2 hours are going to be spent acclimating the kids, distributing iPads, going through a few procedural things, and then they're also going to meet with our assistant and our principal, and they're going to talk about expectations for the school. So we only have about 26 minute class periods that day for the first day, so I have an icebreaker activity planned for that. But on the second day of school, we'll plan to start using these name tent feedback forms from Sarah Vanderwerf. And you can go to her website, I'll link that below. I've mentioned it before on other videos, but this is what it looks like, and the other side we just use as a name tag. So I was playing around with this, and the first time I just folded it this way and wrote my name on it as an example, but this paper is really flimsy. So as I put it on the table, I could see it, you know, just kind of collapsing really quickly with students. So then I thought about maybe doing a trifold. I think that's maybe what I did last year, is having them do a trifold. But then you have to have kind of directions and an example for that the first day so that students won't get confused. I remember them doing that, and other students, it was actually kind of cool because students had to help each other out. Some students can do this kind of thing really quickly and others can't. And then the other important information that you need to think about if you do a trifold is that then you want their name to go on the middle fold. So I usually clip an example of this on the board. So the name would go across in the middle. I'll just write mine real quick. Mrs. Dixon. That way when I do the trifold, it can sit like this as a name tag. But I'm really excited about doing a better job this year. And it's okay if the marker bleeds through a little bit. I'm excited about being better at doing this with all my classes and doing that daily feedback. And I'm committed. You're going to hold me accountable because I'm putting this in a video that I'm going to respond to each student. Now, 2 of my 5 class periods are co-taught, so we can split those up, but going to make sure that I really take the time to learn about my students this year and then do something with this information. Don't just have it sit later after, you know, I'm done learning their names. Actually try to incorporate it somehow into the year and into our learning. Love this idea. And then I just did seating charts. I'm going to have assigned seats for the first couple weeks till I get to know student names. And then the other thing that I'm working on is having blank visual graphic organizers for visual models for students. So this would be vertical ratio tables, double number lines, just T-charts that I'll cut all these up, and then horizontal input-output ratio tables, whatever you want to call those. And I'm going to be working on some more. I want to have these accessible all year this year, even though our students have iPads and could do a blank one on Notability. I want to give them the option to grab a sheet of paper and use a visual model to encourage multiple representations. Here's what I also printed out: receptive and productive vocabulary. So receptive is I can understand it when I hear it or read it. And then it moves to productive level when they can express it verbally or in writing. So those will go up with those vocabulary charts I showed you earlier. Okay, so I wanted to go in a little bit more depth about this idea of receptive and productive vocabulary. So first I want to direct you to openupresources.org. If you do a search there and find their second edition preview, I'm going to go ahead and click on second edition sample in English. And you can see there's an overview, and if you scroll down, it starts to talk about disciplinary language progression. And here it shows when we have new terminology coming up. So this would be grade 6, unit 1, lesson 1. They're introduced to area, region, plane, and gap. And just to talk about the differences between the 2 types of words. So you can see above the table, it says that when they're expected to produce the word or phrase in their own speaking or writing, that is productive vocabulary. And when we first introduce it to them, they can understand it receptively, but they can't then produce it. So this is awesome because as teachers, we can kind of use this to gauge the depth of understanding with our students. And that is why I decided to pilot or try out or attempt having this 2-column word wall. And it's not going to be done like word walls of the past where we just have all the words up there at the beginning of the year and by osmosis our students are going to learn them. I want it to be more interactive and connected to the living, growing anchor chart that I want to really be consistent about this year. So let's just take the word area and the word region, and if we scroll down farther, we can see lesson 12 in unit 1, that's where that should become productive, part of their vocabulary. So I think this will be great for students to also self-assess and kind of maybe eventually they'll be building knowledge together as a class and say, hey, I think this is a word now that we need to move over to the productive column. And I haven't decided yet if I'm going to have students make these word cards for the interactive word wall or if I'm going to use ones that I had in the past with Common Core.
Not sure about that, but just wanted to give you an idea of where I got this idea from. And then again, I had learned about it at Hive. So that's where that came from.
Another thing that I'm excited about is this doorbell that I got. I really did not hardly spend any money on school supplies. All I bought was a t-shirt to wear the first week of school and this. And I can't wait to use it because it has like 40 or something different sounds. And I'm thinking that I will teach the kids and myself to have a certain sound for when it's time to leave time for the synthesis and for cleanup, especially with open up math, because what I learned at Hive is you can't skip the synthesis. So I'll have to pick a really good sound for that. So I'm excited about implementing this tool in my classroom, although last year all I did was use a dollar store bell and that worked great too. But I like the fact that there's so many different sounds and the different sounds we could tie to different things in the classroom.